Welcome to this neighborhood, neighbor. I am the Martian ambassador.
Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
7 minutes after 4:07, 15th day of February in the Lord's year 2016. J. Michael McCoy with Mac's World. I must tell you that I'm a little overcome. People who listen to this show for, to protect themselves or whatever reason, they don't want their voice heard because they think somebody will recognize them. But you can't believe how many texts and Facebook messages I got in the last 7 minutes. Telling me, Mac, you're not wrong. It's okay to think that way. It's just not okay to say it out loud. But as two of them said, it's your job to say it out loud, so we respect that. They, of course, couldn't say that out loud in a mixed group because they'd be called a bigot and a racist and everything else. Nice to hear that. Nice to hear that common sense reigns. We just don't see it. All right. Speaking of common sense, Frank, do you ever read the Des Moines Register? Well, first of all, let me back up. Can you read?
Slightly.
Okay. Do you ever read the Register?
No.
Bob?
Do I have to answer the first question?
No.
Oh. No, I don't usually read the Register.
Okay. Well, I do. Every morning. And if I miss it in the morning, I take it with me and I read it later. And I don't just scan headlines, I reads the whole paper. One of my favorite things to read is your 2 cents worth. Now, I wish to heavens people had to identify how you get a hold of them, because I'd like to answer some of these people. Here's just today. The cost of the Super Bowl is ridiculous. If just a fraction of what was spent and made between the advertisers, spectators, players, and promoters was donated to a less fortunate, maybe our country wouldn't be in such bad shape. All for a football game. Where are our priorities, America? See, that will be somebody voting for Bernie Sanders. They feel the burn.
Well, what's the cheapest ticket that you could? I heard that it was $3,000.
Oh, they had tickets going for $50,000 a ticket.
Yeah, I heard the cheap ones were $3,000.
Yeah. Now, who concerned about excessive sports spending in Des Moines? If you're listening, we had a food drive at our church, and we filled 84 of the how many food pantries in Central Iowa? 84. We filled 84 of the 84 food pantries, filled them with over $1 million worth of food. Did you donate to any of the food drives? Did you come to church and give something extra for the needy? Or do you just sit back and complain? Because you're a low information voter. You see a Super Bowl game and you think of you see all that money being wasted. Did you happen to look around to see what was being done? Habitat for America? Habitat for Humanity? Food drives? We do a lot in this country for the less fortunate. It is not left just up to the government, as some low information people would like to think. It is interesting to see so much hatred coming from the generation of Iowans who once declared, "Make love, not war."
Is that my generation?
It'd be our generation.
Yours?
Yeah. Because we don't make love. We just want war.
Bob, how old was you? How old were you when Woodstock was going on?
Well, Woodstock was, 68?
Yeah, 67.
60s, yeah, 67.
I
think it
was 16, 17.
Well, that's when the make love, not war generation, flower power started kind of hitting the scene.
And see, there's this buzz phrase, hatred. Who does this person think is causing hatred? Abortion doctors cause hatred. People who drive down the road too fast and change lanes without putting on their speedometer or turn signal. Yeah, they spread hatred. people who don't go to church and put part of their money that it's God's money anyway, right? It's not your money. You didn't do anything. It's God's money. And yes, you can call in and challenge me on that if you want. 244-007. 0077. Everything you have belongs to God. And if you think I'm wrong, seriously, if you think I'm wrong, try to take it with you. Oops. All garments must be left at the front door before leaving. Okay, you can go in the funny yellow dress that they bury you in. The general condition of health in the U.S. can be described in one word. Bacon fest. Oh, jeez. Do you really think the sellers of chicken, wings, ranch dressing, hot dogs, or vinyl siding or laminated flooring, fast food, etc., actually use their own products? Probably all vegans eating healthy food and exercise. Disgusted with greed and hypocrisy in Iowa. Here's one more 2 cents worth, if I may. The Super Bowl halftime show and the ads for the upcoming Grammy shows are a lot alike. No music, but a lot of noise. 50312 Senior. I can actually buy into that. And I still can't believe. I just can't believe. I cannot believe the hypocrisy of the low information voter, the progressive, the Democrat. I cannot believe if who's a Mercy Me. You know who Mercy Me is? The band?
The singing group,
Yeah, the Christian singing group.
Yes.
Frank, you know who that is?
No.
You don't know who Mercy Me is?
No, never heard of them.
Well, they're going to be in concert at Lutheran Church of Hope in a couple months. You can come with me.
Ooh, they're good.
Are they good, Bob?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, they're one of the top for years. You remember the song, If I Could Only Imagine? If I could only imagine, da-da-da-da. Never mind, Frank. Anyway, if they did the Super Bowl halftime show and they came out in Ku Klux Klan outfits, what do you think would happen? What do you think the outrage would be? And yet you can have a group of African-American dancers with anti-government, anti-establishment uniforms on, Black Panthers, talking about slaying people with a very vile song filled with vulgarity, and it's the hottest song in the country. Is it?
Yeah, and the thing is, most of the people probably never or didn't hear the song, meaning that it was fairly newly released.
That was the day it released.
Yeah,
that was the first day.
And I didn't understand a word she said.
No, we had to look it up.
Yeah.
We had to look it up on the computer. And we couldn't read the words on any radio station, by the way, not just Christian stations.
Well, you could read some words, but about every other word would be bleeped out.
Yeah. And police departments, state patrol departments from all over the country have said this song is anti-cop. It is building up great hatred and low self-esteem and making the black communities want to attack cops. And it's perfectly fine and will probably win a Grammy. Who knows? She'll probably win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, you notice anytime there's some rhetoric that's heated on the right side. Oh, that's terrible rhetoric. We need to calm down that rhetoric. That's causing violence against some protected group. But yet the Black Lives Matter people can come out and chant, pigs in a blanket, fry the bacon, and that doesn't incite anything or anybody. And when questioned about it, well, that's just a joke. We're just jesting. That doesn't inflame anybody to shoot police officers. I mean, there's always an excuse for leftists. There's always an excuse and an exemption for liberals. Liberals always have an exemption. When the group, what was the group that used to collect the registrations? Acorn. When Acorn was pushing for a minimum wage and pushing for health care for everyone, guess who got exempted from minimum wage and health care for their employees? Acorn. There's always an exemption for liberals.
But why do we put up with it then, Frank? Why isn't every conservative, Jesus-loving fella and gal out there raising a stink?
They're afraid because they're going to be labeled haters. They're going to be labeled racist, bigots, homophobes, xenophobes, whatever. So they politely shut their mouth and won't stand up and say anything.
So those of us who know that who and where our identity comes from, our true identity comes from Jesus. We are the ones who are most afraid of being labeled by hate-filled, progressive, low-information voters.
That's right, but there's even some on the supposedly quote-unquote Christian team who don't want to call things by their nature. Sin must be called sin, but we don't want to do that from the pulpit because we'll call it something candy-coated. It's a disorder. It's something. There's just a PC reluctance to call things what they really are.
And it boils down to what my friend Luke Tim said last week. That we should welcome the demise of Christianity because we know where we're going. We know how the story ends. And so why not let them behead us? Why not let them put in Sharia law? Why don't we let the little boy from Marshalltown, the Lopez boy, not end up in prison for the rest of his life? You know, because it's so bad. He had a bad mother and a poor upbringing and poverty and didn't know how to read or write. And I don't know. Apparently, I was born on the right side of the tracks. Thank you, Mom and Dad. All right, we're going to take our break. When we come back, if you're still with us, cases that the United States Supreme Court will be looking at soon. And these cases will probably swing the other way because they'll tie 4-4 with Scalia gone. And if they tie 4-4, it goes back to the old ruling. What a country. Coming back live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
21 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock, 15th day of February in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Welcome back to Max World Live. Here are the phone numbers, 244-0077. That's the studio line. I hope you've got that written down somewhere. Put it in your phone. Mark it down. There's two numbers you should have. One is the studio line, 515-244-0077. And then the Service Master True Text Talk Line. Service Legend, True Text Talk Line is 515-809-0993. And you had a text a little bit ago.
Yeah, that was about the drinking.
Oh, we already read it. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the death of Supreme Court Justice Scalia, one of the Supreme Court's most conservative justices, on the bench now for 3 decades, leaves the bench evenly divided
ideologically.
Thank you. Lines. When the High Court is down to 8 and the justices deadlock 4-4, judicial rules say the lower court's opinion stands. And it's as if the High Court never heard the case. How Scalia's absence could affect significant issues before the court this year. And we're going to go over some of those in the first place. Now, do you think that a sitting president in an election year should be allowed to nominate and have the Senate and House approve that a nomination before he's out of office? The Democrats said no. It happened a few years ago when I believe Bill Clinton was in his last stage, and the Democrats fought hard that no sitting president. No, it wouldn't have been Bill Clinton. It would have been Bush.
Bush, maybe.
Yeah, and the Democrats said, oh, yeah, he can do that. He's still the president. He has every right to do it. Now, of course, when the shoe's on the other foot, the Democrats are saying, absolutely, you got to do it. So they're just...
Well, first off, there's different rules for progressives and different rules for conservatives. And who sets those, I don't know, but...
Satan.
Yeah. Satan.
Well, who else, Bob? I know you laugh, but who else? Who else would be in charge of the rules? Where half of the people have to follow these rules and the other half have to follow those.
We're not laughing because of that, just because you sound like the church lady.
Yes.
Satan.
Well, who's in charge of that? I had a friend of mine on the Facebook today, and he really is a good friend of mine, but he and I could not be ideologically any different. And I made the comment that Michelle Obama could very well be nominated for the Supreme Court. And somebody came in behind me and said, oh, yeah, that would be just like Satan to put their number one minion in the Supreme Court. And my friend Mike came back and said, wait a minute, that's just horrible for you to say that. How do you know that she doesn't love Jesus? So I stepped in. And my first remark was, show me where she said she loves Jesus. And he comes back and he says, well, why is that necessary? You don't know what's in her heart. And I said, you don't understand what it means to follow Jesus. If you don't tell people you follow Jesus, if you're not compelled to share Jesus with people, if Jesus isn't the reason for the season, plus you celebrate everything that's evil, you're either working for one dude or the other. And you're not working for Jesus. You're working for the accuser. And he comes back and he says, so I suppose you think I work for Satan too. I said, Michael, as much as I hate to say it, brother, I love you, but you do. You do. You don't get to have one toe in both ponds. That's called lukewarm. Bible speaks of that quite clearly. I will spit you out. I do not know you. Oh, anyway. I'm going to have to get an extra serving of blood pressure medicine when I get home. All right, so here's the first argument. December 8th, 2015. Case. Whether states should change how voting districts are drawn from being based on total population to basing them on the number of eligible voters. A change some view as excluding the disenfranchised. Here's the previous ruling. A lower court ruled that states should use population. The decision will stand if the high court votes 4-4. So should it be based on total population or the number of eligible voters?
Well, here's the problem. Democrats have been crying like a scalded dog because they're losing so many local Senate and congressional seats in their local districts, plus on the national level. And it's because 85% of the counties in this country are quote-unquote conservative red counties. All the blue voters or all the liberal voters are congregated in the big cities. So naturally, they would want to redistrict stuff by a different standard so that they have a better chance of getting congressmen and senators. So they're trying to rig the system.
Argument, December 9th, 2015. Case, whether universities can consider race as a factor in admissions. Hold on. Just wait right there. Just hold on. Hold on. Okay, I'm old and I'm white. Whether universities can consider race as a factor in admissions. Bob, help me out here. Wouldn't that be called racist?
Well, again, it's a matter of interpretation. It depends on who's interpreting, and they're supposed to be interpreting the Constitution.
We're going to do something extra for the people with a different color of skin, and that's because we're racist.
But we already have affirmative action and quotas already in place in the country. So do we need extra double secret quotas and double secret affirmative action?
Here's the previous ruling. An appeals court found in favor of the University of Texas at Austin. The High Court heard the appeal a few months later and voted 7-1 to send the case back to the appeals court, which again in 2014 ruled in favor of the university. Justice Kagan, who filed briefs on the case as Solicitor General, has recused herself. Justice Anthony Kennedy will be the deciding vote.
That's the case. I mean, that's the case that I heard. Mm-hmm. Where she recused herself. So,
whether universities consider race as a factor in admissions. I thought we have been fighting, I have to sit at the back of the bus for 60 years, 70 years, where it shouldn't matter what color of skin I had based on what drinking fountain I drink of, what lunch counter I can sit at, or where in the bus. Oh, and whether I get into a university or not. Argument, January 11th, 2016, just a month ago. Whether public unions can collect fees from non-union workers to use for collective bargaining.
That was here in Iowa, too.
Previous ruling, the appeals court ruled in favor of the unions, a decision that would stand if the High Court votes 4-4. So here's the deal. You're a teacher, and there's a union representing some of the teachers. And the mob, I mean the union, gets a law passed by the rest of the mob, the Democrats, that even if you don't want to belong to the mob, the unions, you have to pay money in to support their PACs, advertising, getting people elected, the mob. If I don't belong to the union, why do I have to pay the dues? Oh, wait a minute. I just heard the word redistribution.
Well, Bernie Sanders and the Democrats are against the Citizens United ruling that calls corporations people, and that corporations can donate as much money as they want to political campaigns. So the Ed Fallons of the world will argue that corporations aren't people, but unions do this all the time under the guise, they donate money all the time to political campaigns called Democratic campaigns.
Yeah, I remember when I was a youngster living in New Jersey. And when I would work for a unionized place, even in the summer, in between college classes and so forth, I had to pay. I had to. It wasn't. Isn't that what they call right to work when you don't have to?
Yeah.
And so there, they just collected whatever it was at the time, those dues every month out of my check. I had no choice.
That's illegal.
And they did it.
Well, Iowa's a right-to-work state, so obviously New Jersey probably wasn't a right-to-work
Well, they're
state.
trying to do it now here in Iowa. This is a case that's coming up in Iowa.
Right.
That if you're not a member of the union, you still have to pay the dues because part of their collective bargaining is an advantage to you. Yeah, but you're also going to take part of my money and you're going to give it to Planned Parenthood, or you're going to give it to support a Democratic candidate that I don't believe in, and I don't want to be a part of your union. Mob. I'm sorry, I'm so confused.
This is why I was I was going to be a staunch supporter for Scott Walker from Wisconsin, because he fought this battle up in Wisconsin and took those rights away for unions to collect dues mandatorily from their union membership. So he would have been the right guy to come in and fight this fight, but Scott Walker didn't hang in there long enough to be in the running.
It's only Monday, kids. Argument scheduled March 2nd, 2016. Case: whether states could impose strict medical regulations on abortion clinics that can force many of them to close. It's the first major abortion case before the court in 8 years. Previous ruling: the Supreme Court blocked the regulations on June 29th of 2015 as plaintiffs asked to hear the case. The block would stay in effect if the court rules 4-4. So can the state of Iowa impose medical regulations on abortion clinics that could force many of them to close? Yeah, you know what? I got into a conversation the other day with a woman who was making that snippy, low information argument that Planned Parenthood is there for women's health care. Boy, was she dumb. I said, do you know what the number one cause of women in this country is? She knew. Breast cancer. I said, do you know one test that Planned Parenthood doesn't do? Oh, no, that's not true. That's just what you guys say on the right. That's not true. And I wanted to take her by the hand and take her down to a Planned Parenthood and ask to see the mammogram machine. Of course, we all know they don't have any. In none of them. In any of them. There are zero. Planned Parenthood fights for women's health care, but the number one killer of women in health, they don't have the machine to detect it.
So what do they subcontract those out?
Bob, they don't care. The only thing they want to do is kill babies and sell baby parts, which has been proven that they do.
Well, it just looks like to me that this story isn't going to go quietly into the night.
Scalia?
Yes.
Oh no, this is changing the elections, and I just cannot believe. I'm gonna call the medical examiner. What's his name? He goes to my church.
Oh, for Polk County?
Yeah.
Greg Schmunk.
Greg. I want to call Greg. How in heaven's name can someone at this capacity die mysteriously and there is no autopsy ordered by the state? I don't get that.
I'd like to know what he thinks.
I don't get that. Judge Scalia was found with a pillow over his head, and they did not order an autopsy.
Was he on his back or his stomach? That would be interesting to know.
Well, he'd have to be on his back if the pillow was over his face.
Well, sometimes a guy might put a pillow on his head.
We'll talk
to block
about
light.
it live when we come back.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
4:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at the top, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man, 1-888-ASK-HANK. You can certainly call and ask. Wednesday, well, tomorrow, the head of the Democratic Party here in the state of Iowa with Polk County Democrats, Attorney Tom Henderson will be in as we talk a little politics. Wednesday, it's the conservative black chick. That's what she calls herself. Crystal
Wright.
Google her, check her out. There's a really good Iowa Public Television, or not Iowa, I'm sorry, National Public Television interview she did last year, I think. Very good. Extended 60 minutes, no hype. I think you're going to like her, and she'll be on with us here coming up on Wednesday.
And that's Crystal Wright with a W, W-R-I-G-H-T.
Yeah, and she'll be able to answer some of these questions that we have about what's going on in this country, because she speaks English, she speaks American, she speaks common sense,
she speaks un-PC.
Yeah, correct. And anyway, great guest, and look forward to having her. And then later on in this week, some of your local favorite pastors as Max World continues live here, about to enter. Bob, do you know this? We're about to enter our 7th year.
Yeah, correct.
7th year.
I know. It just
Frank,
so
have you done
fast.
anything for 7 years other than grow your hair long? Can you think of one thing you've done for 7 years? How long were you married?
Close to 20.
Okay. And your daughter's how old?
36, 35, 36.
And you've taken care of your mother most of her life? No?
Just since the car accident.
Oh, wow. No, you took care of her before that.
Yeah, but it more intense carekeeping since the auto accident.
So 7 years isn't a big deal for you. You've done stuff for decades and decades.
Sure,
okay,
yeah.
Well, I guess we'll have to be around for like 30 years.
No account bum count for 7 years?
No account, but you're not a no account bum. All right. Jill says, Randy and a group from our church are going to go to Guatemala on a mission trip. You might want to interview them sometime. They go in June. Love to do that, Jill. Let me know when they can come down here to Des Moines. We'd love to have them in our studios right here at Merle Hay Mall. All right. We are talking about the cases that are immediately impacted by the death, the uncertain, the questioned death, the alleged murder of federal Judge Scalia. You're just tuning in. You're going, what? Well, I haven't heard. Well, I've been at work all day. What's this about a murder? Alleged murder? Yeah, they refused to let the body be looked at. The coroner that determined cause of death did it on the phone after talking to a doctor? No. A medical examiner? No. A who? Policeman. Right?
Yep, that's what the Washington Post said.
Whose choice was the cremation?
I guess that'd be the family's.
I think it was in his will, according to some of the things I read.
Well, and a lot of times, Frank, if you die away from home, like he lived in Washington or Virginia, actually, and he died in Texas, and so they'll cremate the body before it goes home just because it's, why send the whole body?
That's a conspiratorial, that's conspiracy written all over it.
They don't have to cremate. They could send a casket back, fly it back.
Right.
They could if they want to.
Well, and why wouldn't you, if you're the daughter or the son or the wife, why wouldn't you want that body examined? And if you're the president, why wouldn't you? If you're the guy that owns the ranch, why wouldn't you?
Well, it could be that there's more information that we're not hearing about.
Yeah, like it's a cover-up. So Obama can stick somebody else in there.
Or, the doctor may say that he was, his heart was really bad or his ticker was bad or whatever. I don't know. Didn't hear all that.
Had a cocaine overdose with a hooker. Who knows? But we still should have had a medical examiner look at him. He's a federal sitting Supreme Court justice. All right. Arguments heard March 23rd, 2016. Case whether religious nonprofit organizations can be required to provide employees with birth control that conflicts with religious beliefs. The case is 7 lawsuits combined into one. The lower court has ruled against the organizations, which would stand with a 4-4 vote on the high court. All right, now I'm not smart enough. I have to look at this. The case is whether religious nonprofit organizations, so a church, has to be required or can be required to provide the employees of the church with birth control.
Well, doesn't Hobby Lobby fit in that case too?
Well, but they're not a religious nonprofit organization.
Well, but they're religious owners.
No, I think this is. You could be right, Frank. I don't know. The way this reads, it's religious nonprofit organizations. That's a church. That's an organization that stands for Jesus or whoever.
Well, what's the famous one? Little Sister something?
Yeah.
Whether the Little Sisters has to provide health care. I think that's one of the plaintiffs in the case, potentially.
Now, the lower court has ruled against the organizations, which means that, yes, they would have to provide employees with birth control, even though it conflicts with their religious beliefs. Bob, do you think?
I guess what I'm wondering is, does that mean if they're covered by a certain insurance plan that it must be included in, the insurance plan?
Whether religious nonprofit organizations, so let's say a church, has to provide their employees with birth control.
I mean,
that would mean they had to pay for it. Yeah.
But I would think they would do it through an insurance program, other than, somebody says, hey, I need my next month of birth control pills.
Well, the church, if I think what I hear here is that if you work for that church and they have an insurance plan, that they have to provide birth control, even though it's against their religious beliefs.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
They don't want it mandated in their health insurance plan is what they're fighting against, isn't it?
Right. Which they won.
That's what I think.
In the Hobby Lobby case. But now, man, I think it'd be easier to beat that in a religious not-for-profit organization than it would be into a for-profit corporation.
A chat comment here is next they will have to provide them abortion options, or that's the question. Would they have
sure
to?
It is. I mean, where do you think Satan wants this to go? Where do you think the accuser wants this to go? There is a battle going on between God and evil. Now, whatever you want to call evil, just call it what you call it. Satan, the accuser, the devil, chutzpah, Obama. See, I'm convinced after further studies of my Bible, your Bible, our Bible, I'm convinced even in reading through Revelation, the little that I've done, but what I have done, the Antichrist is not an individual human with a DNA and a social security card. Antichrist is everybody who is what? Antichrist. That it will be a movement. It will not be one. The Antichrist is not Barack Obama. The Antichrist are those people who favor Barack Obama over Jesus. It's real simple. Do you follow him or not? Are you a Christian or not? Does Jesus know you or not? Will he spit you out if you're lukewarm or not? To me, it's that simple.
I got up Sabbath morning, and I guess I felt relatively good. And in the afternoon, well, actually, later on that evening, I guess Scalia died about 9 o'clock in the morning, but it wasn't released till about somewhere between 3 and 6 in the afternoon. And it just set the tone for my whole weekend. It's not that I have any personal feelings, good or bad, towards Scalia, but it just made me realize that this fight in this country and in this election season is about to get more intense, and Satan is clearly at work in this country, because it just set the tone for my whole weekend. It just depressed me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just... the fact that they didn't have an autopsy. And the guy who found him in the bed, who is the owner of the ranch and a friend of his, said he found him with a pillow over his face. And yet, even given that, the coroner, after talking to a policeman who was in the room, said it looked like he just died of natural causes. And the coroner said, okay, cause of death, natural causes. We're coming back.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcastonelive.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man, 1-888. Ask Hank. Brian Peterson writes me, why do you think that the Antichrist is not a single human being? Paul wrote in 2 Thessalonians, I wanted to right there. I wanted to say 2, but I didn't. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first. And the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Yeah, I don't know, Brian, you can whatever. I mean, nobody knows, so there's no reason for anybody to stand up and they think they know better than anybody else. Maybe I look at the world through a biblical worldview that is colored by politics. I think the fact that President Obama has already applied for the job as General Secretary of the UN is just, that scares the heck out of me. The New World Order, the United Nations, Obama will be the most powerful man in the world over all the countries. I think that's crazy. That would tell you that the Antichrist may be one human being. I think the Antichrist is anybody who's Antichrist. I don't think the minions get away without taking blame. So Jesus can point them out and say, "Oh, you were anti-me. You were anti-me. You were all anti-me."
I believe that the Antichrist is Satan himself, because he's going to try to. He's anti to Christ. He's got a counterfeit for everything Christ has. But I think there's a whole lot of people on earth, a whole lot of minions that can be called anti to Christ.
All right, let's go to the phones where Paul is standing by. Paul, you're live in Mac's World. How you doing today, Paul?
Mac, you're absolutely right. It is a political thing, and it is global. It's called Globalization Against Jehovah. Do the acronym on that, and that's what everybody's pushing for.
All right, say that again. Globalized
Against Jehovah.
G-A-Y.
Yes. Isn't that the kind of debauchery that's going on and forced on everybody, that you have to do this, otherwise you're just a mean-spirited, evil person?
Yeah.
Isn't that against both God and nature?
Yep. You're right. That's, well, Paul, why got you on the phone?
Sure.
What do you think of this Judge Scalia and the way this is being handled? Do I just have tinfoil on my head? Am I just trying to look for trouble when it isn't there?
Look, I'm not a complete tin hat, but listen, everything's kind of worked out the way it is for whatever purpose God has for it. Like I said, I know the United States is the liberal issue's been trying to go is world government, the world court,
New World Order.
Well, the World Court basically trying to use the UN World Court as a process, and there's about 4 key judges, as far as I know, that are really pushing for a World Court where the whole world exercises all judicial process out of the UN. So, I don't know. It could happen.
But that would make somebody like Obama, George Bush, eligible to be brought up on war crimes. And the United States is never going to submit itself to a U.S. president being brought up on charges when he goes into a war.
Well, what do you mean? You mean to tell me if Hillary got in there or our socialist compadre got in there, wouldn't bring Bush up on war crimes?
Yeah,
well, sure, right. They would like to.
Well, but they do it.
But the same thing holds true for Obama. A Republican president could try to bring up Obama on war crimes charges.
Well, he got a Nobel Peace Prize, so he did wars because he had to.
Well, sure, and the people who handed those Nobel Peace Prizes out are very upset about Obama and his conflicts that he's taken the United States into.
But if he gets to be the in the UN and he's in charge of it all, then how's he going to be brought up on something like that? Just saying.
Yeah, you make a good point. Paul, thanks for listening this afternoon. I appreciate you.
You take care. Appreciate it.
You bet. 515-244-0077. That's the in-studio hotline. Also, you can get a hold of us at the Service Legends Truth Text Talk line at 505-809-0993. Here's our last case before we get lost here. This is due to go before the Supreme Court in April of 2016. Whether the federal government can defer deportation of legal aliens and give them legal protection. The previous ruling, the appeals court prevented the government from deferring deportation. The decision will stand if the high court votes 4-4. Now, let's try to double talk through that, Bob. Help me. The appeals court prevented the government from deferring. In other words, they said, no, government, you can't stop them from being deported.
Yep, sounds like that.
And so that's what it'll come back to. If President Obama does not have a liberal to make that a 5-4 decision. I don't know, guys. I don't want to live with a tinfoil hat on. I want to live, knowing that Jesus is in charge and he makes everything for good, and that the accuser's reign is just insignificant in the big picture of things. But when you've got a United States Supreme Court justice found dead, cause unknown, and they don't do an autopsy, it just baffles me. It just baffles me.
Well, as contentious and high profile as these cases are, you would think there would be an automatic autopsy required.
It's like when a Democrat tells me they follow Jesus, but they favor abortion. It's when an African American man tells me that Black Lives Matter, but they're killing each other at a faster rate than they're born. My mind has not stopped working yet. I'm a good 20 years from full blown on Alzheimer's. Some things just don't make sense. And as I pray and I look to my Lord for answers, he shakes his head back and forth too and says, Mac, it doesn't make sense. Don't hurt your head trying to make sense of something that you can't make sense of. Just trust in me, abide in me. Know that I love you unconditionally and I wrap my arms around you as long as you surrender your will and your life to my care. I will be with you till the end of days. Remember tonight, think of that person you have not been able to forgive and forgive them tonight. Because the good book says in Matthew, as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.